Hello students. In the previous video, we had studied concepts related to solutions. In solutions, we had studied what are solutions, which type of solutions, that is binary solutions, we are going to study in this particular unit, and there are different types of binary solutions we studied. Solid solutions, liquid solutions, gaseous solutions we studied, and then the expression of its concentration terms we have studied, and some concept related to dissolution, crystallization, saturated solutions, unsaturated solutions. All these we have studied, isn't it? And today we shall continue further with this particular unit. Before that, a few students just reminded me, I'm thankful for them, that there were some mistakes in the structure that was written in the previous video, that was explained in the previous video. That was for a para-nitrophenol. When we were speaking about the bonding in it, the example which I had given was this. Here I had written NO2 group. But just make a note that when it is para-nitrophenol, the NO2 group will be here. Okay? NO2, and further from here you see the bonding taking place. Just make a correction of it. I apologize for that. There was a small mistake there. Okay, then when I remember the other things, I'll just go with it. Now we shall continue with this unit of solutions. Solubility of gas in liquid was what we were studying. We had studied up to applications, that is application of Henry's law we had studied, where scuba diving or say dissolution of carbon dioxide in soft drinks. Otherwise, it is about the mountaineers which they experience a condition called as anoxia. All these were the concepts or applications of Henry's law. Now today what we are studying is insolubility of gas in liquid, effect of temperature. That is, how does temperature affect solubility of gas in liquid? In general, I might have mentioned you that what may happen if the temperature is increased, or what is the effect of temperature. But in detail, to understand this particular dissolution of gas in a liquid, that means the dissolving a gas in liquid is similar to condensation process. What is it? Dissolution of a gas in liquid, it is similar to condensation process. Condensation process. What happens in condensation? A vapor gets converted into liquid state in turn, isn't it? From the liquid, vapor will be formed. Vapor further condenses to form liquid. That is condensation. So why we say that the dissolution of gas in a liquid is similar to condensation processes? Because it is an exothermic process. Which process it is? It is exothermic process. Okay, we know exothermic process means heat is evolved during the reaction. That is, during this process, heat is evolved. Now, when we say exothermic process, we know that heat is evolved. Let us apply Le Chatelier's principle. According to Le Chatelier's principle, what happens here? If heat is liberated during the process, what happens if you increase the temperature? Now, since we are studying effect of temperature, let us consider what happens when heat is, that is temperature is increased. Temperature is increased means that is an endothermic process, isn't it? That is, you are supplying heat, it will result in endothermic process. But this process in nature it is exothermic. Then what can you expect? When temperature is increased, according to Le Chatelier's principle, since it is an exothermic process, solubility decreases. Isn't it? solubility will decrease. If temperature is decreased, solubility will increase. That is the effect of temperature on solubility of gas in liquid. Hope I am clear to you. Because it is an exothermic process, during dissolution of gas in liquid, heat is evolved. That is why, according to Le Chatelier's principle, when temperature is increased, the solubility is tend to decrease. So solubility of gas in liquid always decreases. Now further what we are going to study is vapor pressure of liquid solutions. Next topic is vapor pressure of liquid solutions. Vapor pressure of liquid solutions. What are liquid solutions? Liquid solutions are those liquid solutions in the sense here the solvent is in liquid state, isn't it? The solvent is in liquid state. That determines the physical state of the solution. Since we are going to study about liquid solution, remember that the solvent is going to be liquid here, and here the solute can be a solid or even liquid or even gas also. So here we will consider solid and liquid for the study of vapor pressure in liquid solutions. Now this is clear that solvent is liquid, solute can be a solid or liquid. So the possibilities are that it can have one or more. See, if it is a solution constituting of solid and liquid, how many volatile substance do you have? Liquid. So one volatile substance. If the solution is made up of liquid and liquid, how many volatile solutions you have? Two volatile substances you will have. So that means the volatile component in liquid solution can be one or more, can be one or two also. Since we are considering only binary solution, the components that are volatile can be one or two. Now further we shall see vapor pressure of liquid solutions. We will consider a liquid solution with component 1 and component 2. What is it? Consider a liquid solution. Here we will study liquid solution. Liquid solution. So remember, the further what we are going to study here, discuss, is about liquid solutions. Consider a component 1 and 2. That means liquid, say 1 and 2 are the components. If you take these two components in a vessel, when these components are taken, 1 and 2 components are taken, that is, two solutions are taken, two liquids are taken, I mean to say in a closed vessel. Otherwise you can say, when component 1 and 2 are taken in a vessel, what happens? Here both are volatile, so they evaporate. If they evaporate, what happens? Here vapors will be formed, and when the condition of equilibrium has been attained, it exerts pressure on the surface of the liquid, which we call as vapor pressure. Clear? So what happens at equilibrium? When component 1 and 2 is taken in a closed vessel, the volatile components evaporate and it starts exerting pressure on the surface of the liquid, or say it results in vapor pressure. Now equal amount of vapor phase and equal amount of liquid phase we have. Are you getting? Liquids also exist. Liquid phase as well as vapor phase will be at equilibrium. So this is the condition. Now we will see then what happens. We will say if total pressure has to be taken, if total pressure has to be taken, say P total has to be taken, how should we take the total pressure? Do you remember Dalton's law? Dalton's law of partial pressure states that total pressure will be partial pressure of the components present in it, partial pressure of the gaseous molecules. So here partial pressure of, say, component 1 is P1, partial pressure of component 2 is P2, then P total becomes P1 plus P2. Here we know that these partial pressures, that is partial vapor pressures, these two are partial vapor pressures, can be related to mole fraction x1 and x2. That means x1 is mole fraction of component 1, x2 is mole fraction of component 2. That means what? If total pressure P total is taken, we can take the sum of the partial pressure. Now we can relate this partial pressure to the mole fraction x1 and x2. How, or what is the concept related to this? We will study further. Okay. So a French chemist named as Raoult, he gave the quantitative relationship between this, that is between partial vapor pressure and mole fraction. It's just a brief note what you have to take here. Just an introduction to it. Okay, moving further. A French chemist, Raoult, R-A-O-U-L-T, Raoult, he gave quantitative relationship between vapor pressure, that is partial vapor pressure, and mole fraction in the solution. What did he do? He gave quantitative relationship of partial vapor pressure and mole fraction in the solution. So what is said is, and that is called as, and this particular quantitative relationship is also called as Raoult's law. Important, very important one, called as Raoult's law. Henry's law is important, Raoult's law is important here. What does Raoult's law state? It states that you know what it states? It states that for a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component, that is, I'll just write the statement later, partial vapor pressure of the each component is directly proportional to its mole fraction in the compound. So what he said is, Raoult, he said it for volatile liquids. Remember this, it's for volatile liquids, he said. That means a solution of volatile liquids, partial vapor pressure of each component is proportional, directly proportional to its mole fraction in the solution. That means if you have taken two components, 1 and 2, then first one's partial vapor pressure will be directly proportional to that is its mole fraction. Same way, if you take second component, then that's partial vapor pressure will be directly proportional to its mole fraction. Are you getting it? So I'll write the statement properly as it is important. It states that for a solution of volatile liquids, for a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component of the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction present in the solution. Now you understand what is partial vapor pressure, no? Partial vapor pressure means pressure of individual gas molecules. Pressure of individual gas molecule is called as partial vapor pressure. Now you know what is mole fraction also. Mole fraction means what? How much of that number of moles of that component in total solution. That is number of moles of one component divided by total number of moles. That means number of moles of first component plus number of moles of second component. Are you getting the point? How do we write the formula for mole fraction? N1 by N1 plus N2 if we have two components present. That means number of moles of that solute, that component divided by total number of moles of components present in the solution. Are you getting the point? That is what he has stated. So, in a solution of volatile liquids means both can evaporate. Then the partial vapor pressure of each component of the solution will be directly proportional to its mole fraction. That means we have considered, say, two components, P1 and that is 1 and 2 component. P1 is the partial pressure of component 1. X1 is the mole fraction of component 1. Therefore, according to Raoult's law, P1 is directly proportional to X1. Otherwise, how can you write it? You can write, therefore, for component 1, P1 is directly proportional to X1. Remove the proportionality symbol. We can take it as P1 not X1. P1 not X1. What is it? P1 is partial vapor pressure of component 1. P1 naught is partial vapor pressure of pure component 1 at same temperature. X1 is mole fraction of component 1. Are you getting the point? Okay, that is for component 1. Now let us see for component 2. For component 2, P2 is directly proportional to its mole fraction. That is, partial vapor pressure of second component is directly proportional to mole fraction of that second component. Therefore, how can you write it as P2 is equal to P2 naught X2, where P2 naught is for pure component, that first component. Now it is in the solution form, isn't it? If it was in a pure form, then what its vapor pressure would be? That is P2 naught. Okay, without combining with any, if it is in the pure form, then its vapor pressure is represented with this standard form. So P2 is, same way you can write, P2 is partial vapor pressure of component 2. P2 naught is partial vapor pressure of component 2 and X2 is the mole fraction of component 2. Now if this is clear, we can move further. Just if you're not getting the point, then pause the video, replay and go through it. It's easy to understand. Do not get confused anywhere. Okay? I'll tell you, you may be feeling that what is the difference between Henry's law and Raoult's law. The difference I'm going to tell you later. What is the difference? So no, don't get confused. This is for liquid solutions and that is for gas in liquid. I getting? Okay. We'll move. Just note this, and continuation of this is what I'm going to write now. I'll be writing continuation. So we have these two expressions now. Yes? Now, according to Dalton's law, according to Dalton's law of partial pressures, according to Dalton's law of partial pressure, total pressure is equal to sum of partial pressures. Do you agree with it? What did he say? If you want to take total pressure of the solution, now we have solution. We have solutions. What does it constitute? Component 1 and component 2. And now we are considering that it has some vapor phase and that pressure has been exerted, vapor pressure. We are considering. Now total pressure means partial pressure of one component plus partial pressure of two component. We have expression here. Just substitute here. Therefore, P total, that is total pressure, is equal to, in the place of P1, I am going to write P1 naught X1. P1 naught X1 plus, in the place of P2, P2 naught X2. Right? Now what can I write it as? Now here we have X1, X2, right? We know mole fraction sum is equal to 1. Therefore, I'll write X2 is equal to 1 minus X1. That is mole fraction. As mole fraction X1 plus X2 is equal to 1, isn't it? You studied in a relationship of mole fraction there. Therefore, X2 means 1 minus X1. I'm going to substitute it here. So, in the place of X1, that is in the place of X2, I can write 1 minus X1. Is it? Or okay, we will substitute here for X1. Therefore, X1 is equal to 1 minus X2. P1 naught, as it is in your NCERT textbook, will go that way itself. So, you will not have any confusion when you go through your book. That is why we will consider for X1 itself. 1 minus X2 plus P2 naught X2. Hope these things are clear. Now simplify. It becomes P1 naught minus P1 naught X2 plus P2 naught X2. What is common here? P1 naught minus, here X2 is common, take X2 out. It becomes P1 naught minus into plus minus P2 naught. Therefore, P total is equal to P1 naught minus X2 into P1 naught minus P2 naught. Right? Further, using this, we can draw a graph. See, in the examination till here, if you know, it's more than enough. But if you have to understand the further concepts for your competitive examinations as well, we will understand it in a better way. For this, a graph has been plotted and explained. Graph is, here x1 is equal to 1, x1 is equal to 0. That means mole fraction always, you know, right, it ranges from 0 to 1, the value. So if x1 from here it starts, so x1 0 to 1 it is, whereas x2 starts from here 0 to 1. This is mole fraction x2, that means it is increasing this way. This is vapor pressure this way. Now we have a graph from 0, one graph. This graph, say first graph, is for P1. Okay, this graph is for P1. See x1, component x1. So for P1 it is from 0 to 1 it has increased. This is P1 naught. This is for pure component. Next graph is, this graph, say second graph, is for P2 and this point is P2 naught. That means partial vapor pressure of pure component it is. Now this line which I am joining P1 naught and P2 naught, this means it is total pressure is equal to P1 plus P2, this graph. Okay, I'll tell you the conclusions drawn, just make a note of it. But hope this graph is clear. This is for P1 and this line is for P2 and this graph says total pressure, that is sum of P1 and P2 it means. Hope it is clear. Now we will see what are the conclusions drawn. Conclusions drawn from this graph. What are the conclusions drawn? As I explained, you can just make a note of it. Conclusions drawn are that the total vapor pressure over the solution can be related to, that is, see, total vapor pressure of the solution can be related to mole fraction of any one component. See here, which mole fraction do you have? Only of component 2. That means the total pressure of the solution can be related to mole fraction of any one component. If I would have taken here as 1 minus x1, then this relationship would be related to component 1. That is a conclusion drawn from this particular expression. What is it? The total pressure of the solution, total vapor pressure of the solution is related to any one component's mole fraction. That is first point. I hope you have made a point of it. That is, total pressure is related to mole fraction of any one component. This is a main point derived. Next point is, here if you see, total vapor pressure of the solution varies linearly. Linearly means like a straight line with the mole fraction of component 2. Isn't it? We have plotted a graph with this. That is vapor pressure, total pressure versus mole fraction now. Total pressure versus mole fraction, we have plotted a graph and we see that the total pressure varies linearly with mole fraction 2. Mole fraction x2, that is total pressure versus x2 varies linearly in the graph. Then next is total vapor, depending on vapor pressures of the pure components 1 and 2, depending on components 1 and 2, total pressure of the solution increases or decreases with increase in mole fraction of component 1. That is